Commander Jiwoo Park stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless watching the stars through the large viewport. After 15 years in the Earth fleet, she thought she had seen everything. She was wrong. "Commander, unknown ship detected at bearing 340, said Lieutenant Do-Yun Kim. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wide. Jiwoo straightened her uniform. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life. The ship that appeared was unlike anything humans had built. It was smooth and elegant, with a hull that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. "It's not one of ours," she said quietly. "Not Earth, not Mars colonies, not the Jupiter stations." The bridge crew fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. First contact with an alien species. "Send the greeting package on all frequencies," Jiwoo ordered. "Follow first contact protocols." Ensign Minji Kang's fingers moved quickly over her console. "Broadcasting now, Commander." The greeting package contained basic mathematical sequences, simple language primers, and peaceful images of Earth and humanity. It was designed by the best minds on Earth for this exact moment, a moment many had thought would never come. Minutes passed with no response. "They're moving, Commander," reported Do-Yun. "Closing distance slowly." Jiwoo nodded. "Maintain position. Keep broadcasting." The alien vessel approached with careful movements. It stopped at a distance that suggested caution but not fear. "Still no response to our transmission," said Minji. "They may communicate differently," suggested Jiwoo. "Stay alert." Suddenly a soft blue light washed over the bridge. The ship's computer announced, "External scan detected." "They're scanning us," said Chief Engineer Soon Ho-yoon over the comm. "Full spectrum analysis of our hull systems, everything." Jiwoo remained calm. "Let them look. It's what we would do." The scan continued for several seconds. In engineering, Sunho watched the readings with interest. "They're particularly focused on our power systems," he reported, "especially the fusion reactor and emergency power routing." On the alien vessel, Captain Taijo of the Nari Collective studied the scan results with growing alarm. The data couldn't be right. He ordered his science officer to scan again. "Confirm these readings," he demanded. "Focus on their power distribution network." The science officer, Jaewon, ran the scan again. "Confirmed, Captain. Their energy systems contain multiple redundancies that can cross-connect. They have manual overrides on automated safety systems. Their reactor containment can be temporarily bypassed for emergency power routing." Taijo stepped back from the display. "That's impossible. No spacefaring civilization would build ships this way. The risk of catastrophic failure is too high." "The readings are clear," insisted Jaewon. "Their entire ship is designed to reconfigure under stress. It's as if they expect systems to fail and have built in dozens of dangerous workarounds." "No. Wonder we never detected them before," Taijo whispered. "We weren't looking for ships designed like this. No rational species would travel space in vessels that could so easily become bombs." Back on the Dauntless, the crew noticed a change. "Commander, they've stopped scanning," reported Minji. "Their engines are powering up." Do-Yun frowned at his readings. "They're charging some kind of faster-than-light drive." "Are they preparing to attack?" Jiwoo asked, tension in her voice. "No weapons charged," Do-Yun confirmed. "But they're definitely leaving." The alien ship's engines flared brightly, and in an instant it vanished from normal space. "They're gone, Commander," said Minji. "Just gone." Jiwoo sank into her command chair. "Did we do something wrong?" Sunho's voice came over the comm again. "Commander, during their scan they seemed very interested in how our power systems work, especially the emergency protocols and reactor safety overrides." "Why would that matter?" asked Jiwoo. "I'm not sure," said Sunho. "But to an outside observer, some of our designs might seem unusual." What the humans didn't know was that across the galaxy, urgent messages were already spreading. The Nari Collective warned every allied species, "We have encountered a new spacefaring race. They call themselves humans. Do not scan their vessels directly. Their ships contain power systems that should not be possible without catastrophic failure. They travel in what we would consider ticking bombs." In the following days, the Dauntless continued its patrol. the crew excited about their brief alien encounter. They hoped for another chance at first contact, unaware that they were now being watched from a distance by multiple alien observation ships, none of which dared to scan them again. The humans had no idea that their approach to engineering, born from millennia of adapting to Earth's harsh and changing environments, had just marked them as the most terrifying newcomers to the galactic community. Diplomat Han Jin Lee adjusted his formal uniform as he waited in the small transport ship. Through the viewport, he could see the massive Galactic Concord station. It looked like a giant metal flower floating in space with curved petals extending from a central hub. 2 minutes until docking, announced the pilot. Han Jin nodded, trying to stay calm. As Earth's first official representative to the alien alliance known as the Galactic Concord, he carried enormous responsibility. The future of human relations with alien species rested on his shoulders. The transport ship glided into a docking bay filled with strange vessels of various designs. Some were sleek and shiny, others looked rough and practical, but all were clearly not human-made. An escort of tall, blue-skinned beings waited for him. Their leader stepped forward. "Welcome to the Concord Station, Human Diplomat Lee. I am Elder Hyunki, your guide during your stay." Han Jin bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome. The United Earth government is honored by this invitation." Elder Hyunki led Han Jin through winding corridors. Aliens of different species moved aside, watching the human with what seemed like nervousness. "They act as if they're afraid of me," whispered Han Jin to his guide. "Not of you personally," Elder Hyunki replied, "but of what you represent." Before Han Jin could ask more questions, they arrived at the meeting chamber. 7 representatives from different alien civilizations sat around a large round table. The room fell completely silent when Han Jin entered. Elder Tai-Hyung Moon, the senior representative of the Concord, spoke first. "Human Diplomat Lee, we welcome you despite our concerns." Han Jin took the empty seat offered to him. "Thank you, Elder Moon. May I ask what concerns you mean?" The aliens exchanged glances. A smaller alien with glowing skin, a Nari named Sunwoo, tapped on a control panel. A hologram appeared in the center of the table, showing detailed images of human warships. "These are your vessels, correct?" asked Sunwoo. Han Jin nodded. "Yes, these appear to be standard Earth fleet designs." Sunwoo zoomed in on specific sections of the ships. 3 weeks ago, one of our scout ships encountered your vessel, the Dauntless. We performed a standard scan. Another alien, with 4 arms and reddish skin, made a sound like a hiss. A mistake that nearly caused a galactic panic. "I don't understand," said Han Jin, looking from one alien to another. "What's wrong with our ships?" Elder Moon leaned forward. "Human Diplomat. Every spacefaring civilization develops along similar engineering paths. There are certain principles that all follow to ensure safety in the void of space. Your species has ignored these principles," said Sunwoo, highlighting sections of the human ship designs. "Your power systems can be manually overridden. Your safety protocols can be bypassed. Your energy routing allows for connections that should cause immediate system failure." Han Jin studied the diagrams with growing understanding. "Those aren't flaws, those are features. Human ships are designed to be adaptable under damage or stress." "What you call adaptable," replied an insect-like alien, "we call unstable and dangerous. Your vessels operate with systems that could at any moment cascade into catastrophic failure." "But they don't," argued Han Jin. "Our ships are safe." "By what measure?" asked Elder Moon. "Your definitions of safe terrify us. You sail among the stars in ships that, by our understanding, should not function. They should explode, or melt, or tear themselves apart." Han Jin slowly realized the extent of the misunderstanding. "Our ships are designed to survive when things go wrong. Humans evolved on a planet with unpredictable environments. We design for worst-case scenarios." The aliens were not comforted by this explanation. 7 member species of the Concord have independently examined the scans of your vessels," said Elder Moon. "All reached the same conclusion. Human engineering embraces chaos in ways that defy our understanding of safe design." Sunwoo added, "We have a saying, predictability ensures survival. Your ships are the opposite of predictable. "We have our own saying," replied Hanjin. "Adapt or die." Our ships reflect that philosophy. As the meeting continued, Hanjin became aware of something unexpected. The aliens weren't just concerned about human ships. They were genuinely afraid. To them, humans were newcomers who traveled in vessels that should be impossible, defying what they considered basic safety principles. Meanwhile, across conquered space, reports spread about the strange humans and their death vessels. Spacers shared stories in ports and stations. Some claimed human ships contained unstable elements that could destroy entire planets. Others whispered that humans themselves must be different, perhaps immune to radiation or able to survive in vacuum. On the fringes of conquered territory, a different reaction was brewing. The Vrax Dominion, a species known for their aggression, saw opportunity in this new information. "These humans represent a perfect target," declared Admiral Jahyuk to his war council. "They are feared by the conquered, but not yet under their protection. If we eliminate them now, we remove a potential threat before they can establish alliances." The Vrax battle fleet began moving quietly toward human space, while across the galaxy, the reputation of humans grew into something mythical. Dangerous newcomers who sailed the stars in ships that defied the laws of nature. Commander Jiwoo Park knew something was wrong the moment the sensors went silent. The UES Dauntless was patrolling the outer edge of human space when all readings suddenly dropped to 0. "Report," she ordered, rising from her command chair. Lieutenant Do-hyun Kim worked frantically at his console. "Sensor blackout, Commander. Something's blocking all our scans." "Battle stations," commanded Jiwoo. The bridge lit up with red warning lights as crew members rushed to their positions. "It could be a natural phenomenon," suggested Ensign Minji Kang, though her voice lacked conviction. Jiwoo shook her head. Not likely. She had been in space too long to believe in coincidences. Suddenly, the view screen filled with the image of 3 warships appearing out of nowhere. They were angular and predatory, covered in what looked like bony plates and weapon ports. "Vrax, Dominion warships," announced Do-hyun, reading from his now functioning display. They were using some kind of cloaking technology. Jiwoo's mind raced. The Vrax were one of the species mentioned in the diplomatic briefings, aggressive expansionists who had refused to join the Galactic Concord. "They're powering weapons," reported Do-hyun. "No communication attempts." "Shields at maximum," ordered Jiwoo. "Prepare all defensive systems." Before she could say more, the Dauntless shuddered violently. The lights flickered as the first volley from the Vrax ships struck their shields. "Direct hit," called out Lieutenant Junho Choi from the engineering station. "Shields at 70% and falling." Another blast rocked the ship. "They're targeting our power core specifically," said Junho, his face pale. "How do they know where to hit us?" Jiwoo gripped her chair as the ship shook again. "They've studied our design somehow." On the main Vrax battleship, Admiral Jahyuk watched with satisfaction as his fleet pounded the human vessel. "Continue targeting their primary power distribution nodes," he ordered. "According to our intelligence, their systems should cascade into failure when those connections are severed." His weapons officer nodded. "They cannot survive long. Their shields are already weakening." Back on the Dauntless, the situation was growing desperate. "Shields at 30%, reported Do-hyun. "We can't take much more of this." Jiwoo turned to Junho. "What about the thunderstorm protocol?" Junho's eyes widened. "That's never been tested in actual combat. It could overload half our systems." "If we do nothing, we'll be destroyed anyway," said Jiwoo. "Execute thunderstorm protocol." Junho hesitated for only a second before entering the command codes. Throughout the ship, alarm bells rang as the computer announced, "Warning, emergency. Power reconfiguration in progress. All safety protocols suspended." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Sun Ho-yoon and his team worked frantically, manually overriding safety systems and creating new power pathways that no ship designer had ever intended. Rerouting fusion reactor output through auxiliary systems, called out Sun Ho. Bypassing standard limiters. Energy that should have been carefully contained now flowed through emergency channels, Systems designed to operate independently began to interconnect in ways that would horrify conventional engineers. On the Vrax command ship, alarms suddenly blared. "What's happening?" demanded Admiral Jahyuk. His science officer stared at the readings in disbelief. "The human ship, its power signature is changing. It's becoming unstable, but somehow it's still functioning." "Impossible," said Jahyuk. "No ship could survive with that kind of power fluctuation." The Dauntless surged forward, its weapons coming online with unexpected power. The ship's entire energy grid had been transformed into something that defied standard engineering principles. "Their weapons are showing energy levels that exceed their design specifications by 300%, reported the science officer, voice shaking. "This should not be possible." The first return fire from the Dauntless struck one of the smaller Vrax ships. Its shields flickered and failed under the chaotic energy pattern that no defense system was designed to handle. Admiral Jahyuk watched in horror as the human ship moved with new speed and fired again. Another Vrax vessel rocked under the impact. "Target their weapons," he ordered desperately. But the Dauntless was no longer fighting by any rules the Vrax understood. Each time they damaged one system, power would flow through emergency bypasses to maintain function. When standard weapons were hit, backup systems came online with modifications made on the fly by Sun Ho's engineering team. From a safe distance, observation vessels from the Galactic Concord watched the battle with astonishment. What they saw confirmed their greatest fears about human ships, but also revealed something they hadn't expected. The very chaos they feared made human vessels nearly impossible to defeat through conventional means. As the battle continued, the remaining Vrax ships began to pull back. Admiral Jahyuk stared at the screen in disbelief. "How?" he whispered. "How can they still be fighting?" The answer was simple, though he could not understand it. Humans had designed their ships not for perfect operation, but for survival under the worst possible conditions. The Dauntless wasn't winning despite being damaged. It was winning because of how it responded to damage. As the Virax fleet retreated, Commander Jiwoo Park ordered medical teams to help the wounded and engineering crews to start repairs. The Dauntless had survived, but at a cost. And now the galaxy would have even more reason to fear and respect human warships. Chief Engineer Sun Ho Yoon spread out paper diagrams across the large conference table. He preferred old-fashioned paper to digital displays for important presentations. 6 alien representatives leaned forward, examining the human starship designs with a mixture of fear and fascination. "This is the power distribution system of a standard Earth fleet vessel," Sun Ho explained, pointing to a complex network of lines. "As you can see, we build in multiple pathways for energy to flow." Elder Moon of the Galactic Concord shook his head slowly. "But this makes no sense. You have systems that can connect in ways that would create dangerous feedback loops, only if not properly managed," Sun Ho replied with a small smile. "What looks like chaos to you is actually controlled flexibility to us." The meeting room was located in a neutral section of the Concord station. After the Vrax attack on the Dauntless, both humans and aliens recognized the need for better understanding. This technical exchange was the first step. The Nari engineer, Jin Young, reached out with a slender finger to trace one particular pathway on the diagram. "This emergency bypass circuit. During normal operation, it sits completely idle?" "Correct," said Sun Ho. "It only activates if the primary and secondary systems fail." "But that's..." Jin Young struggled for words. "That's inefficient. You're carrying systems that serve no purpose most of the time." Diplomat Hanjin Lee, standing quietly at the back of the room, noticed how the aliens seemed genuinely confused rather than judgmental. This was progress. Sun Ho picked up a model of a human ship. "Let me explain with an example. Imagine you're designing a vessel that must cross a dangerous ocean. There are 2 approaches. The first is to build a perfect ship that will never break. The second is to build a ship that can be repaired quickly when it breaks. Which would you choose?" "The first option, obviously," said one of the alien representatives. "A ship that never breaks is safer." "But such a ship doesn't exist," Sun Ho countered. Every design has flaws, every material has limits. In human history, those who survived weren't the ones with perfect ships. They were the ones who could fix problems quickly. The room fell silent as the aliens considered his words. Jin Young pointed to another section of the diagram. This power relay junction operates at only 60% capacity during normal conditions. Yes, confirmed Sun Ho. Because if other systems fail, it needs room to handle additional load. But you're deliberately running systems below their optimal levels, protested another alien. We are designing for failure, Sun Ho said simply. Because in our experience, failure always comes eventually. The question is not if, but when and how badly. Elder Moon leaned back in his chair. In our civilization, such thinking would be considered pessimistic. We call it pragmatic, said Sun Ho. Earth has a long history of disasters, both natural and those we caused ourselves. We learned to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The discussion continued for hours. Sun Ho showed the aliens more designs explaining the philosophy behind each safety feature and backup system. Gradually, understanding began to replace fear. Your ships are designed to change their internal configuration based on damage, said Jin Young, finally grasping the concept. Instead of trying to prevent any change, you channel change in useful directions. Exactly, said Sun Ho. Human ships don't resist change, they adapt to it. Later that evening, diplomat Han Jin met with Elder Moon in a quiet observation lounge. Through the large window, they could see Earth ships docked alongside alien vessels. Your engineer was very helpful today, said Elder Moon. I begin to understand your species better now. Han Jin nodded. The difference in our approaches comes from our different histories. Please explain, said Elder Moon. From what we've learned, most spacefaring species in the Concord evolved on stable planets with predictable environments, said Han Jin. Earth was never like that. We had ice ages, meteor strikes, sudden climate shifts, earthquakes, floods. Humans survived by adapting quickly. And your technology reflects this history, Elder Moon observed. Yes. We don't trust stability because we've rarely experienced it, Han Jin explained. Our ships aren't designed for perfect operation in ideal conditions. They're designed to survive when everything goes wrong. Elder Moon was quiet for a long moment. There is wisdom in this approach that we had not considered. Perhaps the Concord has become too comfortable with predictability. As they watched, a small Earth shuttle maneuvered between two massive alien cruisers. The shuttle looked rough and practical compared to the elegant alien designs. What frightened us about humans, said Elder Moon, was not understanding why you build ships the way you do. Now I see that it's not because you don't care about safety, it's because you define safety differently than we do. Han Jin smiled. To humans, the safest ship isn't the one that never breaks. It's the one you can fix when it does. As the diplomatic meeting ended, technical teams from 7 alien species were already requesting more detailed exchanges with human engineers. What had begun as fear was slowly transforming into curiosity and respect. The galaxy was beginning to understand that human engineering wasn't dangerous because it was flawed. It was powerful because it embraced the possibility of failure. The giant view screen in the combined fleet headquarters showed 50 ships holding position in a defensive formation. Admiral Min Seo Kang stood before the gathered commanders, her face serious under the blue light of the tactical display. The void. Entities have adapted to conventional weapons, she said, pointing to dark spots moving toward their position. Their absorption fields now neutralize standard energy configurations. The room filled with worried whispers. Commanders from 7 alien species exchanged nervous glances. They had fought the void entities for 3 months now, and each battle was worse than the last. How can they adapt so quickly? Asked the Nari commander, Jaewon, his skin glowing dimly with stress. They learn from each encounter, replied Min Seo. Our stable, predictable energy weapons are easy for them to analyze and counter. Elder Moon, representing the Galactic Concord leadership, looked grim. Then we have no effective weapons left. Not exactly, said Min Seo, nodding to Commander Jiwoo Park of the UES Dauntless. We have the human fleet. Jiwoo stepped forward. The alien commanders watched her with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. 6 months ago, they had feared human ships. Now those same vessels might be their last chance. Human weapons can be reconfigured. During battle, explained Jiwoo, we can change energy patterns faster than the void entities can adapt. How? Asked one of the alien commanders. The same design features that once concerned you, said Jiwoo. Our ability to bypass safety protocols and reroute power in ways that create unpredictable energy signatures. She activated a small device, and a detailed battle plan appeared on the view screen. We call this Protocol Thunderstorm, continued Jiwoo. Human ships will take forward positions to engage the void entities directly. When their absorption fields activate, we'll execute emergency power reconfiguration. The alien commanders studied the plan with growing understanding. What had once seemed like dangerous design flaws in human ships now represented their best hope. Your vessels will deliberately create unstable energy patterns? Asked Elder Moon. Yes, confirmed Jiwoo. Energy fluctuations that no engineer would intentionally design, except humans. The Nari commander, Jaewon, who had once feared human ships, now looked at Jiwoo with new respect. You're going to use chaos as a weapon, he said. Precisely, said Jiwoo. The void entities have adapted to order and predictability. They have no defense against controlled disorder. 2 hours later, the combined fleet moved into position. The 12 human ships formed the front line with alien vessels providing support from behind. The crew of the Dauntless prepared for battle. All systems ready for Protocol Thunderstorm, reported Lieutenant Do-Hyun Kim from his station. In engineering, Chief Engineer Sun-Ho Yoon and his team stood by to execute the most extreme power modifications they had ever attempted. Remember, Sun-Ho told his team, when I give the signal, bypass all safety limiters on energy weapons. We want maximum instability in the output signature. The first wave of void entities approached, dark shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with unnatural speed toward the fleet. Conventional weapons fire, ordered Admiral Minseo. The alien ships launched their attack. Beautiful, perfectly calibrated energy beams shot toward the void entities. But as in previous battles, dark absorption fields simply swallowed the energy. No effect, reported Do-Hyun. They're still advancing. All human vessels, execute Protocol Thunderstorm, commanded Jiwoo. Throughout the human fleet, engineers bypassed safety systems and created new power pathways. Reactor energy flowed through emergency channels, creating harmonic patterns that shifted constantly. On the Dauntless, warning alarms blared as the ship's computer detected the intentional chaos being created in its systems. Weapon configuration, destabilized, announced Sun-Ho over the comm. Ready to fire. Fire all weapons, ordered Jiwoo. The human ships released energy beams that pulsed and flickered with unpredictable patterns. When the beams hit the void entity's absorption fields, something unexpected happened. Instead of being neutralized, the chaotic energy caused the fields to fluctuate and weaken. It's working, called out Do-Hyun. Their defensive fields can't adapt to our changing patterns. The void entities recoiled from the attack. Some began to break apart as the unstable energy disrupted their structure. From the safety of the command, ship Admiral Minseo and Elder Moon watched in amazement as the human vessels performed maneuvers that should have torn them apart. Power signatures surged beyond safe levels. Weapon configurations changed mid-battle, and emergency systems operated in ways never intended by their designers. Now I truly understand, said Elder Moon quietly. What we feared about humans is actually their greatest strength. They embrace change rather than fear it. The battle continued for another hour. When it ended, the void entities had been driven back for the first time since the conflict began. In the aftermath, as damage control teams worked throughout the fleet, Admiral Minseo met with Elder Moon and Commander Jiwoo. The conquered owes humanity a debt, said Elder Moon. Without your ships, we would have lost today. Jiwoo shook her head. We succeeded because we worked together. Your stable ships provided the platform we needed to execute our more creative approaches. Admiral Minseo looked out at the combined fleet. Perhaps that's the lesson here. The galaxy needs both order and chaos, stability and adaptability. Elder Moon nodded slowly. A new protocol has been proposed to the Galactic Concord Council. Human warships will never again be scanned directly, not out of fear but out of respect for their unique design philosophy. And human engineers will be invited to share their knowledge with Concord shipbuilders, added Minseo. As they spoke, repair crews from 7 species worked side by side on damaged vessels. Human engineers taught aliens their improvisation techniques, while alien technicians shared their precision methods with humans. What had begun as fear had transformed into something unexpected: mutual respect and a new kind of alliance, one that combined the best aspects of different approaches to surviving in a dangerous universe.